Alright, today we're going to continue with point-slope form. Point-slope, as a reminder, is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Let's review our other formulas very quickly. Those being slope. Slope is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And the slope-intercept form being y equals mx plus b. Standard form, ax plus by equals c. And remember, there's no fractions, and the x part needs to always be positive. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to write an equation in slope-intercept form, and then we're going to do it in slope-intercept form. So this stands for point-slope form, and then we're going to rearrange it, and after we rearrange it, we're going to put it into slope-intercept form. So our steps: find the slope, pick a point, use point-slope form, and then rearrange it into slope-intercept form. So first thing, find our slope. We've got x and y. You can call either one the first point and the other one the second point. That's fine. Slope, we should be really good at this point at. We're going to do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And what we end up getting when we change our signs to plus the opposite is we get a negative 3 over a negative 8 over a negative 3, which is a positive 8/3. Then what we're going to do is we're going to pick a point, and I'm going to go ahead and just select this point right here because it's all positives, and I'm going to write it in point-slope form. Y minus my y-coordinate 3 equals 8/3 times x minus my x-coordinate, which is 2. My next step then is I'm going to put it in slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. In order to do that, I'd have to distribute this out. I'm changing colors so you can see that I'm doing that. 8/3 x minus 16/3. And then the last step would be to add 3 to both sides. When I add 3 to both sides, I'm really doing the problem negative 16/3 plus 15/3. So my final answer for slope-intercept form would be y equals 8/3 x plus or minus negative 1/3. Let's try another one of those. What we're going to do is we're going to put x1, y1, x2, y2. Slope is y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. I end up getting, when I change my coordinates to plus the opposite, I get negative 4 over negative 8. Negative 4 over negative 8 reduces to a positive 1/2. So first step is done. Find the slope. Second thing I'm going to do is write it in point-slope form. I'm going to select this point again because it's all positive. I'm going to say y minus my y-coordinate 2 is equal to 1/2 times x minus my x-coordinate, which is 4. Now I'm going to put it in slope-intercept form, and I'm going to distribute. Y minus 2 equals 1/2 x minus 1/2 times 4, which is 2. Last up, add 2 to both sides, and end up getting the form y equals 1/2 x. And I don't need to put plus 0, so I'll be finished. Alright, the new part to these next problems is that I'm now going to finish in standard form. So I'm going to be doing 3 different forms. I'm going to write it in point-slope form, then I'm going to write it in slope-intercept form, and then I'm going to finish it up in standard form. So each time I'm still going to be finding the slope. x1, y1, and x2, y2, and we'll go and we'll find the slope by doing our y2 minus our y1, negative 6 minus 6 over x2 minus x1, 3 minus negative 3. This gives me a negative 12 over a positive 6, which is a negative 2. So writing this in point slope form, I'm going to go ahead, let's just use this point right here. I'll say y minus my y coordinate, which is 6, equals negative 2 times x minus my x coordinate, which is negative 3. Now, we're not going to leave our signs minus, so we're going to change it to plus the opposite. And then to clean this up a little bit, I'm just going to go ahead and erase that one plus sign. Continuing on then, we would distribute. We can write it in slope-intercept form. This will give me y minus 6 equals negative 2x. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. And then what I'm going to do is add 6 to both sides. So y equals negative 2x. That's the only thing I need to write for slope-intercept form. Last one, I'm going to finish with the standard form today. Standard form is ax plus by, so I need to move the x back to this side here. And what that gives me is a 2x plus y equals 0. This is a fine form to leave standard form into because it has no fractions and the x is positive. The next example is the same thing over and over, but I want to keep doing them. So please feel free to just try the entire problem on your own and then check the answer. So feel free to pause at any point in time. So I'm going to get the slope is 2 minus negative 6 over, and I should have marked these x, y, first coordinate, second coordinate, y minus y over x minus x. So what I end up getting is plus the opposite, I end up with 8 over negative 8, which is negative 1. So I'm going to take this point right here, and I'm going to write it into point slope form. So I'm going to do y minus my y coordinate, which equals my slope, negative 1, x minus 3. Now I want to clean this up just a little bit. I'm going to make it say y plus 6 equals, you don't have to put a negative 1. You could actually just write a negative x minus 3. So I'm going to go ahead and circle this as my final answer here. Either one of these is correct, so make sure that you know that. Either one is correct. To do slope-intercept form, I would distribute my negative through. So I'd get y plus 6 equals negative x. That would be a plus 3 because the negative times the negative is a positive. And then I would subtract 6 on both sides, and I'd get y equals negative x plus negative 3. And I'd be finished. One more form, standard form. Standard form, I need to move this x to the other side, so I'll do that by adding x to both sides. That gives me just x plus y equals negative 3. This is fine form to leave it in because there's no fractions. On the x, there's no fractions at all. The x term is positive. I have one more example, and I'll finish that up on the next video. My final example, feel free to pause it right now and try it again on your own. See if you can get this on your own. This is what you'll be doing for some practice on your own later. The slope is found by doing y minus y over x minus x. So we're going to take our y minus y, our 3 minus 4, all over our x minus x, negative 1 minus 2. This gives me a negative 1 on top and a negative 3 on the bottom, which is a 1/3. Let's use this point. It's all positive right here. So we're going to say the point slope form would be y minus 4 equals 1/3 times x minus 2. Let's go ahead and put that now into slope-intercept form, distributing y minus 4 equals 1/3 x minus 2/3. My next step would be to add 4 to both sides, which gives me y equals 1/3 x. And then I'd be adding those together, a negative 2/3 and a 12/3. 12 and negative 2 gives me a positive 10/3. This is a great for standard or slope-intercept form, but standard form not so great for because I'm not supposed to have any fractions. So we're going to eliminate the fractions. And we can do that by multiplying each of these terms by 3. Now, typically, I'll write them up above, but to save space here, I'm writing them below. So y times 3 is 3y. 1/3 times 3 So I'll do that off to the side. 1/3 times 3 is a 1. And then 10/3 times 3, 10/3 times 3 is a 10. The last part I need to do for standard form here would be to move my x over. It actually makes it not the last thing now because I now have a negative x plus a 3y equals 10. We are not supposed to have we're not supposed to have fractions, but we're also supposed to keep that x positive. So if I change the x to being positive, then that means I'm going to change my y to negative and my 10 to negative. So I changed all of my signs, and there's my standard form. Here was my slope-intercept form, and then right here was my point-slope form.